And welcome in, everybody, to the Last Row Podcast, a fan's perspective on sports. It's Brian here inside the ARM Media Solutions Studios on this Thursday, March the 5th, 2026. Hope you are well. Hope you're happy wherever it is. You may be enjoying the podcast, whether that is on Apple Podcasts or through Spotify. We do appreciate each and every one of you taking time out of your day or night to listen. Again, you can find us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can also find us on Amazon Music, as well as our social media. You can check us out there on X or Twitter at Last Row Podcast. You can find us on TikTok or TikTok Live, where we are every night streaming coast to coast, sea to shining sea, and around the world in living color. You can find us there at last.row.podcast. Make sure you check out our website, www.lastrowpodcast.com. That's where you can find links to all of our sponsors, including I Know a Guy Remodeling. We will talk to them, or talk and hear from them, starting later on here this evening. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and let's get ourselves situated and ready to go, shall we? All right, let's go ahead and get some news out of the way. Just happening here within the last, I would say, half hour or so. The Chicago Bears have released weak side linebacker Tremaine Edmunds from his contract after no longer getting a deal. This is per Adam Schefter of ESPN. Edmunds has been a full-time starter in each of his 8 NFL seasons and will now become a free agent with 900 tackles on his resume. And I have to be honest with you, today I was expecting that. I was expecting DJ Moore to get dealt, and DJ Moore did get dealt. Earlier today, we will jump on that in just a minute. Couple of other things here, real quick. Those of you that follow the show and know how I am and know our story and all of that, I'm a news nerd, and there's some pretty violent weather happening around the Central Plains states and so on. So if you are anywhere near there, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, please be weather alert tonight. Currently, about 3 minutes ago in Cleo Springs, Oklahoma, there is a giant tornado on the ground, so please make sure you are safe there tonight. Yes, it is absolutely kicking off. You are exactly right, John. If you're in the TikTok live chat, welcome in. We look forward to hearing from you. We look forward to seeing how you help us drive the show. And yeah, so lots of interesting things happening today. So let's start with the news just about a half hour ago. Tremaine Edmunds being released by the Chicago Bears. Big news. Now with Tremaine Edmunds gone, DJ Moore being traded, and Drew Dalman retiring, the Bears have roughly $31.5 million, and this is per Aaron Lemming, NFL guy, and real good salary cap guy. They've got about $31.5 million. Now, that is prior to doing any type of restructuring. So, I believe they're going to restructure multiple contracts. I think they're going to try to move one or two more guys. I'll be completely honest. Bruce, good evening to you. Alex, yeah, you know what? I got to tell you here. Okay. I'm hearing from various sources in and around Chicago and throughout the league that there are a number of teams that are checking in on Max Crosby. Max Crosby has told Vegas that his preferred destination is Chicago. However, here's the issue. The Bears are not willing to give up 2 ones. Vegas did not want DJ Moore. So now the question becomes, if you're Chicago, do you try and get Tyler Linderbaum as your starting center to shore up your offensive line and then go out and try to get Trey Hendrickson? Or, and this is something that I think Bear fans are trying to come to grips with and come to the understanding that, look, the perception on the Chicago Bears has changed throughout the entire NFL just within the last year. And it's because of the culture that's been put in place by Ben Johnson. You now have this as a location where guys want to come. Chicago is not the place to go, like Mushin Mohammed said, where receivers go to die. And yes, TW, we're gonna talk about that. We were expecting that to happen. Dolman retired, Bruce, because he saw what the league can do to you, because his father played for San Francisco in the 80s and 90s, and he saw what that did, how his father is suffering, we'll just call it. And quite honestly, it made sense. I mean, he being a Stanford guy, I think he knew that this was going to be an issue. And he knew that his playing time wasn't going to be long. So get the money while you can, but then also, let's just be honest here. By getting the money while you can, you also have to pay back your signing bonus. So the Bears are only on the hook for $4 million of that $14 million signing bonus. That means they get 10 of it back, so that plays a part into it. I believe the Bears are going to try to restructure Jalen Johnson. I believe they're going to try to restructure Montez Sweat, if not trade Montez Sweat. I believe that no, they don't. You're exactly right, Bruce, and I think that plays a part in it too. To be honest with you, the fact though that the perception around the league has changed with the Bears, and I feel, and this is just me talking here as a fan from the last row, that why shouldn't they have their sights set on Tyler Linderbaum and Max Crosby? Why not? If they can pull it off, do it. Absolutely. If you have to restructure guys, if you need to maybe move Cole Kmet and sign or draft a cheaper tight end that can do the same things, do it. Do it. You have the opportunity to do so. But again, within Chicago, there are a number of different people that feel that this is a destination location now. And if they're able to get Max Crosby and or Tyler Linderbaum, look, I'll be honest with you. Even if they were to get Connor McGovern and Max Crosby, I think that's a win. If they end up with the guy from the the Commanders, the Biadasz, I believe is his name. If they end up with him and Crosby, I think it's a loss. The other thing too, and there's some depth, Alex, within the center position. There's some depth within the draft, but not much. Not much. That's why I think they're hot to trot after Linderbaum. To be honest, I'm finding what the NFC North is doing right now is fascinating. You've got Minnesota cutting costs left and right to try to go cheap. You've got Detroit really not doing anything, which is surprising. You've got Green Bay looking to lock up Romeo Doubs, and that's pretty much it. And then you've got the Bears trying to ultimately retool that defense on the fly. Now, look, the trade that happened today for Chicago is big. And we're going to talk about that because it's twofold. Yeah, Rodriguez is good. Lorenzen is solid. There's some other guys. I like Josh Kreutz from Illinois. He's got ties to the Bears as well. And so, look, I feel that Chicago has some opportunity here within free agency to make a big splash. But the bottom line is, for Chicago, they've got to get somebody big on that defensive side. And if they don't, then they better amass a crap ton of draft capital. And they better utilize all of those picks for defense. Because you're going to have to do everything in your power to bolster your team. Now, according to reports, Vegas wants 2 ones. I don't believe the Bears are interested in that. I'll tell you a team that apparently is interested in it, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, if Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman pull this deal off, I can almost guarantee you that an A.J. Brown trade of some kind will happen. And I wouldn't be shocked if somebody else is gone within Philly. And again, we saw them do it with Chris Long many, many, many years ago. We saw them get Chris Long from the Rams. And look, if Philly gets him, if Philly gets Max Crosby, you know what? Go ahead. Go ahead, take him. That's fine. Because I don't know if I necessarily want to part with 2 ones. Now, I was thinking that Edmonds would go to Vegas, and then from there, you might be able to get rid of 1 and maybe a third. But if the asking price is too much, I don't know if I want to do that. Could you get Trey Hendrickson? Absolutely you could. Could you get Hargraves from Minnesota? Absolutely you could. The fact that you got another second-round pick from Buffalo today for DJ Moore, while Buffalo's taking on his entire salary, that's a win for Chicago. That's absolutely a win for the Bears. And here's why. You're not in salary cap hell with the hit for DJ Moore at this point. And by getting rid of him, and look, I don't want to underestimate what DJ Moore was to Chicago. I don't want to underestimate how good DJ Moore was for Chicago at the time when they got him. Because it was a completely different coaching staff. It was a different regime. And quite honestly, he fit what they needed for their young quarterback at the time in Justin Fields. And it gave Fields a veteran wide receiver that was coming off really good years in Carolina. And now it ultimately, makes DJ Moore a prime target for Chicago and for Justin Fields at the point when that happened. From there, when the Bears traded Justin Fields, that was a bad day for DJ Moore. And when all has been said and done with DJ Moore, he's going to go down statistically as one of the best Bears wide receivers ever. And I believe that, look, he's got all the stats to prove it and to back it up. But that just tells you how inept the Bears have been over the last 50 years with wide receivers. Now, do I believe Luther Burden and Rome Odunze are going to fill in the gaps just fine? Absolutely. Absolutely. However, I wouldn't be shocked if they re-signed Olamide Zaccheaus or tried to go after somebody else that would be a little bit cheaper. Remember, your window, especially if you get Max Crosby, let's not forget this here. If you're able to somehow get Max Crosby and Tyler Linderbaum, your window with Caleb Williams is wide open. And Max Crosby, even though he's older and he's had some surgeries, I don't know that he's worth 2 1s. But you know what? If I give you a 1 and I give you a 3 for him, let's do it. But I'm not giving up 2 1s. I'm not giving up a 1 and a 2. I'd give up a 1 and a 3, sure. But I'm not going to give up a 1 and a 2. Now, could I give up the 2 that I just got from Buffalo? Absolutely. Now, TW, you said a 1, a 2, and Cole Kmet. Why would the Raiders trade for Cole Kmet? When they've got Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer, they've got 2 really solid tight ends. They don't need Cole Kmet. They need or needed a wide receiver. They need or needed a linebacker. Now, could the Bears maybe offer a Montez Sweat in return? Absolutely. If Vegas will eat the salary, sure. Yes, do that. That way the Bears don't have to eat Montez Sweat's salary. I'm all for it. But I'm beginning to wonder here. And again, the perception of the Bears has changed in a good way. The Bears want to win it all. The Bears are going to go for it all. And more power to them. They should. The fact that they have this opportunity to get Linderbaum and Crosby by just restructuring a few deals, all doing this while Caleb is on his rookie contract. That's your window. That's your window to go out and spend and get draft or utilize draft capital for that. So that way you can win now, win a Super Bowl with Caleb now, and then sign Caleb to a multi-year extension. Because we all know that's going to come. And rightfully so, it should. Because Caleb Williams has been very, very good for Chicago so far in 2 years. I think last year exceeded expectations, I would say. However, I think this next year is going to say quite a bit. And if Caleb struggles, if Caleb regresses, then you know what? I think you have a legitimate question at quarterback. But do I see that happening with Ben Johnson? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Now, in terms of compensation or draft capital right now that Chicago has, here is what they have after the DJ Moore trade. Round 1, their pick is at 25. Round 2, 57. Round 2, the pick from Buffalo at number 60. So they got a second rounder for DJ Moore. That's a hell of a get. That's a big get by Ryan Poles. Kudos to him for that. That and you get a number 2 plus Buffalo eats the salary. You know what? That's a good deal for the Bears. That's a real good deal for Chicago. Now, they had to give up a 5th in order to do so, but that's okay. That's okay. You can recoup a 5th, for somebody that maybe want to move up in round 2 at number 60. If you want to move back to, 65, you could do that and get a 5th rounder then at that point, which I think they could, and I think they probably will. But round 3, they've got number 89. 4, they're at 129. Then they don't have a 5 or a 6. They've got 2 7s. I'd like to see them somehow get a 5th or a 6th if they can, but if they can't, that's fine. So you're going to have 4 picks in the top 3 rounds. That's not bad for a team that was in the divisional round of the playoffs. Now, will they hang on to that? I don't know. It all depends on what they will get or have to give up potentially for Max Crosby, if that's where they're going to go. And look, on defense, we've talked about it for Chicago now. They have to get younger and faster on defense. They have to. If they don't, it's going to be the same thing again. Now, could you get a younger linebacker or a faster linebacker? Absolutely. They could. And if they do so, then they have the opportunity to do that through the draft. And I think, look, with the draft being as deep as it is this season and this year, there's absolutely a chance that they can do it. The fact that they were able to get rid of Edmonds here tonight, look, he was due $15 million. You save that, and now you've got more money to work with potentially getting Max Crosby. And Second City Boutique, I agree with you. Zacchaeus is good to have for $1.1 million. Absolutely. He'd take that in a heartbeat. He knows the offense. He's an okay blocker. Rome's a good soldier, good blocker. Burden is a really good blocker. Plus, you've got Colston Loveland. Now, if you can restructure Cole Kmet, if you can restructure Montez Sweat and Jalen Johnson to get more salary cap leverage, guess what? You do it. And then when you do that, then you've got more money to play with either Max Crosby or Tyler Linderbaum or Trey Hendrickson. But you've got to get one of those 2 defensive ends along with either Linderbaum as your center or McGovern as your center, I feel. I don't want Biadasz or whatever his name is from Washington. I would much rather have Linderbaum 1, McGovern 2. If you're able to get Tyler Linderbaum, left tackle all of a sudden doesn't become such a massive need. It's big, but you can potentially plug and play there with Braxton Jones, Theo Benedette, give him another year in the system, have him work, or could you move Darnell Wright, your right tackle, who's been very, very good at right tackle? Could you move him to left tackle and then put Theo Benedette on the right side? I think that may be where they look to do, or what they look to do. You might be able to then spend a little less money on the offensive line, and thus you're solving your center issue by either Linderbaum or McGovern, and then you're able to get Wright on the left side, Benedict on the right, and then you know what? You could draft somebody in the 3rd round. You could draft a center. You could look at a free agent. That gives you options if you're Chicago. But they have to act quickly. The league year will open. The league year opens in 6 days on the 11th, Wednesday. I will tell you this much. Back channel discussions have already been happening. There are a number of different opportunities waiting for them that they could act on that would then become official when the league year resets. My hope as a Bears fan is that Linderbaum and Crosby are there. My concern for Bears fans is that Biadasz, or whatever his name is from Washington, and Cam Jordan are going to be the pickups. And that's not going to do anything. Lego, look, I will say this about DJ. He was the third option, really, for Caleb Williams this year, when you think about it. Early in the year, Rome was one. Then Rome got hurt with the stress fracture in his foot, and it's a legit injury, and for a receiver, you've got to have your feet. From there, you have Colston Loveland's emergence. So then that drops more to your three. Because when Rome went down, that allowed Luther Burden to step in, and the late season appearance of Luther Burden, and then how valuable he was to Caleb in the playoffs, I think you saw a better dynamic between Luther Burden and Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze and Caleb Williams, and Colston Loveland. So therefore, I think that you have a number 3 in DJ Moore there. Now in Buffalo, DJ Moore is already going to be a number 1. He has to be because of the money that you're paying him. And the fact that Buffalo has already essentially picked up his 2028 money, which is absurd. I will tell you this much. He's going to be a big factor for Josh Allen. It's somebody that you're going to have to put your number 1 cornerback on, okay? But I don't believe he's a number 1 any longer. You put him on a team that's got a good number 1, guess what? He's a number 2. And then at that point, being a number 2, he's gonna lollygag a little bit. We saw that this year in Chicago, where he didn't finish routes. Look, if he finishes that route in against the Rams, I think the Bears win that game. And I said it in the postgame when that happened. I think if DJ Moore runs the right route and flattens it out like we've talked about, I think the Bears win that game and they go on to lose in Seattle, but I believe at that point they win the game, and then maybe DJ Moore is still here. But I don't know if he was a Ben Johnson guy, to be completely honest. And that's not a knock on him. Look, the other factor in all this that most people aren't talking about, Monty, I see your comment. We'll talk about it here in a minute. He's reuniting with his old offensive coordinator from Carolina in Joe Brady, who's now the head coach in Buffalo. I think that's a match made in heaven for both, because DJ Moore had his best years under Joe Brady. So he knows Joe Brady. Joe Brady knows him. I think that's why this trade makes a lot of sense for Buffalo. What I don't think makes sense for Buffalo is giving up a second-round pick. That's the part that gets me. So Buffalo must have really wanted him more than A.J. Brown, because of the fact that, like you said here, Monty, the draft falls off in terms of wide receivers. I think the draft falls off wide receiver-wise after round 2. I'll be honest. The free agent crop of receivers isn't that good. So you're going to have to make a move for somebody big. I'm wondering No, I don't. I don't think they do. I don't think they do, Monty. I think that ship has sailed. I wouldn't be shocked if Diggs wound up in Vegas. Just a hunch that I have, because you need a number one for Fernando Mendoza. Um, you need that. You don't have that in Vegas, other than Brock Bowers, who at this point we don't know if he's going to be healthy enough to play a full 18 game schedule because he hasn't so far. He hasn't shown it. So my thought is that for Chicago, or excuse me, for Diggs, Vegas makes a lot of sense. Offense that's friendly, young quarterback that can throw the ball. We'll see. I don't. AJ Brown makes sense there too, I think. But I don't know what Philly's wanting to try to give to try to get in return. I don't think you're going to do an AJ Brown for Max Crosby deal, but maybe you do. Maybe that's part of the deal that they're working out right now. I don't know. But if Philadelphia ends up with Max Crosby, you know what? So be it. I'm okay with that. That's fine. And per Field Yates with ESPN, the Bears, with the trade of DJ Moore, the release of Edmonds, and the Drew Dahlman retiring, the Bears have about $44 million in cap space. So my apologies. Yeah, I mean, look, there could be some guys in round 3. Yeah, I'm not saying that, but I think the fact that they've got to get the receiver core this draft. This draft is heavy defense. Let's just call it what it is. This is a defense-heavy draft first. In years past, we've seen wideouts be deep. We've seen tight ends be deep, offensive line. This year is defensive heavy, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. And Second City, you're spot on there. Yeah, restructured contracts could have them at 70 to 80 million. Now think about that. You could get Tyler Linderbaum and Max Crosby. You could also potentially then go out and get a Khalil Mack or a Cam Jordan that knows Dennis Allen's defense really, really well. Yeah, Bills fan, thank you for coming in. Yeah, look, if I were Buffalo right now, I would want to know why in the hell we gave up a 2 for him. And the Bears giving up a 5 to get that 2, yeah, Monty, you're spot on, is genius by Ryan Poles. But again, I don't know why Buffalo felt the need to do that, to give up a 2. And yeah, the Bills are absolutely desperate. But listen, I think the trade makes sense in the terms, or in terms of the fact that you're reuniting DJ Moore with his old coordinator from Carolina. You've got that familiarity there. That makes it a little bit easier. However, I think Josh Allen could use another big-name wide receiver. I think he needs another wide receiver. I don't know necessarily big name, but you could absolutely, get him one. And Buffalo Bills fan, you're right. The Bears weren't necessarily going to let him walk, because that wouldn't have, cap-wise, that wouldn't help Chicago. That would hurt them. But the fact that his cap hit has already taken effect, or will take effect here for the league year. Again, the Bills are guaranteeing him, and this is per Albert Breer. The Bills are guaranteeing $15.5 million in 2028 for their new wide receiver DJ Moore. He'll be 31 that season, with money for 2027 vesting next week that essentially turns into a 3-year, $73.5 million deal for DJ Moore with a team option for 2029. If he plays well, that's a good deal. But I don't know if he's going to be a number one long enough for that to happen. So the Bears have cleared a ton of cap room, and Albert Breer was the one earlier today who said, we'd mentioned earlier that they've shown interest in Tyler Linderbaum and Max Crosby. Stay tuned. And that's where I think Bears fans have to, they don't take any because of the fact, Monty, that Buffalo is taking on the entire salary. So Buffalo's taking the whole salary on and giving up a 2 for DJ Moore. All right, let's take a quick timeout. We're going to hear from our friends over at I Know a Guy Remodeling. And then from there, we'll come back and we will continue to talk about the NFL. On a day like today, you know what separates contenders from pretenders? It's the off-season moves, smart investments, big upgrades, like a new wide receiver for Buffalo. Fixing weaknesses like center for the Bears before the season starts. So let's talk about your house. The outdated kitchen, a defensive liability. That cramped bathroom, a cap space disaster, Brandon Bean. That unfinished basement, well, it's wasted potential. You can sit back and trust the process, or you can make a splash signing thanks to I Know a Guy Remodeling. They come in, they assess your roster, and they build a championship-level space in your home. No gimmicks, no drama, just professional, reliable results. So this spring, make moves that change everything. Because banners don't hang themselves. You can find a link to their Facebook page on our website, www.lastrowpodcast.com. Because everybody deserves to know a guy. And now, you do. I Know a Guy Remodeling. All right, we are back. Okay, in terms of what the Bears have to pay for DJ Moore to leave, let's look into that right now. So, based on what I'm seeing here, per CBS Sports, by trading him, the Bears avoid being responsible for his $28.5 million cap hit in 2026, which was the highest on the team. He had previously signed a 4-year, $110 million extension in 2024 with his 2026 salary already guaranteed, but the trade removes his long-term financial burden from the books of Chicago. So, the Bears create $16.5 million. It leaves them around $12 million in dead cap. That's per CBS. So that's what they're looking at, Monty. $12 million in dead cap. Not bad, considering the original contract was 4 years, $110 million. So now for Chicago, they've freed up enough, but they've got to do more, I think. And with Dahlman, Edmonds, and Moore now all gone, they've created roughly $44 million, as Ethan put in the chat, and as we've stated. So now the question becomes, what do you do? Well, you've got to restructure a couple things. And look, there are a number of Lego. We'll get to that here in a second. 1 second. there are still a couple of names that are out there that are getting trade interest. Two names: DeAndre Swift, Cole Kmet, Tyson Bagent. I think if you can get a third-round pick or a fourth-rounder for Bagent, you do it. I think if you can get a third or a fourth-round pick for DeAndre Swift, you do it. If you can get a fourth or a fifth for Cole Kmet, you do it. That would create more cap space for the Bears and thus allowing them to restructure the Montez Sweat deal. That would allow them to work on Jalen Johnson, maybe getting, a cornerback. Safety, a lot of mock drafts have the Bears taking a safety in the second round, and that's an area of need for Chicago. I don't believe they re-signed Jaquan Brisker. Look, quite honestly, I think that would be okay if they don't re-sign him, and the reason for that is because he is absolutely one or two concussions away, and let's be honest here. The concussion factor for him is big because he's a big hitter down in the run game. With him having a history of concussions, he's one or two concussions away from not playing football anymore. I believe that the Bears are going to look at a defensive tackle in the first round, a safety in the second round. There is a kid from LSU, and forgive me, I don't remember, Hulsey, I believe, is his name. A lot of mock drafts have him going at 57 to Chicago. I would be more than okay with that. I would love that pick. Absolutely love it. I think he becomes an instant starter. Mr. First Down, good to see you, sir. I believe that makes things. You're plugging two holes there. You're getting a defensive tackle that you need in the first, and then in the second, you're getting a safety that you need. That's the beauty if you keep your one. That's a big if at this point. Now, could you trade next year's one? Maybe. Could you trade 2028's one? Maybe. You can trade up to 3 first-round picks. So, maybe you don't give up this year's first round. Maybe you know next year you're going to be picking 25th or lower again because you have faith in your coaching staff. You have faith in your quarterback. You have faith that Dennis Allen, with the additions through the draft and maybe through trades and or free agency, maybe you're going to get somebody or players that are going to ultimately turn the defense around. Look, if the Bears can turn their 29th ranked defense around with the top 5 offense that they have or top 10 offense that they had, look, that's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. Now, do I think that's going to happen? I don't know. I'm hopeful, as a Bears fan, I'm absolutely hopeful that they somehow figure out a way to turn that defense around. Anything has to be better than what they had a year ago. It's got to be better than that. Has to be. But the fact is, they have to be able to get things done and get things done fast in free agency. You don't want to let Linderbaum go. You don't want to let you don't want to let Crosby go. But look, if he's going to go anywhere other than Chicago, the rumors that I heard this morning and that I've heard from a couple different former NFL Network guys that are now with Bleacher Report and things like that. Buffalo is one location. Baltimore is another. Philly, Chicago, with Dallas as a sleeper. Chicago is his preferred destination. Chicago is his preferred destination. Now, my thought would be this. If you can figure out a way to get both Crosby and Linderbaum, that's your Super Bowl right there. That's what you want. If we don't get them, I believe that, and this is just me, I believe McGovern makes sense. And then I think you look at either Trey Hendrickson. I think then after that you look at a Jalen Phillips. But you've got to have a plan in place. Cam Jordan is so old, Ethan. Oh my God. He's old. I think he's old. I think there are better options out there. Now, speaking of that, one of the former, or soon-to-be former, Minnesota Vikings put something out tonight, or today, on social media that really was not a good look. Here's what it is. This is per one of the guys that I do follow on X, Dov Kleiman, who says former Vikings defensive lineman Javon Hargraves roasts team defensive coordinator Brian Flores, retweeting a tweet that says his system is not D-line friendly. If you're a D-line and want to get to the quarterback, Brian Flores' system is not for you. That's an issue. That's why he's getting released. That's why Minnesota is releasing a multitude of guys. And the fact that now the fact that now you have gaping holes in Minnesota on the defensive line that you just brought in a year ago, you have a huge question mark at quarterback. I think that's a big problem in Minnesota. And the fact that you don't have a general manager in place right now, and you're letting Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores kind of make your decisions, that's a problem. And yes, John, they are in cap hell. There's no question about that. However, the bigger issue here, I feel, is that right now they have big questions on offense and defense. And I don't know necessarily, if I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan, how in the world that's going to equate to wins, because you don't know who your quarterback is at this point. Chris, you know what? Kayvon Thibodeaux, the problem with that is now they don't have a trade chip for that. They don't have a trade chip for it, I don't believe, because Tremaine Edmunds was going to be that chip. But now Tremaine Edmunds being released here tonight doesn't allow that to happen. I don't believe you're going to trade TJ Edwards. Unless if you trade Montez Sweat, I don't think that happens. You don't have a 6th-round pick that you can trade. So I don't know how you're going to get Thibodeaux unless you bring in a second team. And I think they're going to try to re-sign Kevin Byard, I believe. I believe they're going to try to re-sign Kevin Byard. So and on a completely separate note here, if I can get a little bit serious here. Oh, real quick, Danielle Hunter has just been extended by Houston. 1 year, $40.1 million in a contract extension. That's pretty good. If I can get a little serious here for a moment, A pillar in Green Bay passed away earlier on this evening. Former Green Bay Packers team president, Bob Harlan, passed away tonight, and he was the architect that was able to really kind of reform the Green Bay Packers in the early and mid '90s before Mark Murphy came in, and he was a guy that brought in Bill Michaels, who, if you are on TikTok Live, always should follow him. Bill Michaels, he's as dialed in as there is in Green Bay. Longtime Green Bay Packer guy, longtime WTMJ guy up in the Milwaukee area. Bob Harlan was the architect of that Green Bay '96 championship team. And he absolutely has been a staple for a number of years in Green Bay. He's the reason why Kevin Harlan, whom we all know and love in the media world, does the Green Bay Packers preseason games. So Bob Harlan passing away tonight, and our thoughts and prayers are with him and their family as well. Brian Harlan, a big guy up in Green Bay, big front office guy for the Packers as well. So no question that he will be missed. No question that the Harlan family is certainly grieving, and we wish them thoughts and prayers. The deal for Danielle Hunter, it's absolutely insane. I will tell you this much. For somebody that has found his fit on a defense with DeMeco Ryan, by extending him, that is an absolute huge deal for Houston. And look, I'll just be honest with you. Is it a lot of money? It absolutely is. But you know what? When you're getting the kind of production that you have gotten from Danielle Hunter, you're willing to pay it. You're absolutely willing to pay the amount. And Monty, I don't believe they're planning on paying C.J. Stroud. I'll be honest with you. I don't think they're going to. I think that they are going to. They're probably not going to pick up his fifth-year option. I don't believe they will, because I don't know necessarily that he's going to be the end-all be-all in Houston. So I think you're going to be looking for a quarterback after next season. I don't think it's C.J. Stroud. I don't believe he's the answer. We've talked here on the show that I believe that Davis Mills was a better fit for the offense. I don't believe that Stroud's the guy there. I believe it is, but I believe that they can make that decision, have him play out the season, and then he's there. But again, the fact that Danielle Hunter is now getting a boatload of money, look, you can absolutely bank on that defense being around. I don't know what you would get for C.J. Stroud. I'll be honest with you, Monty. I don't believe that you would get much. You might get a fifth or a sixth. I don't think he's worth more than that, I'll be honest. And maybe I'm harsh in my evaluation of him, but I don't believe that he is a starting quarterback in this league. I just don't. I feel like he is somebody that is. He could be a backup, but again, I don't believe he's going to be a starting quarterback. I just don't believe that. And with Houston doing this deal, look, I feel that they're banking on their defense leading the way again. I think the only way they trade him, truth be told, I think the only way that they trade him is if somebody gets hurt in camp. And you can pick up a wide receiver or another quarterback or something. But if a big name quarterback goes down, I don't necessarily know who you would look at. And I don't know if you would get much. Like I said, if you got a second round pick for him, I think you'd do that. But I don't know where he would go. I don't know where he would fit. He's had 2 offensive coordinators in his time there, and it's not. Look. I don't believe Stroud is good enough. I just don't. I'll come out and say it. I don't believe he's good enough. I wonder what they will do though, because I don't know where you would trade him to. I mean, if you really wanted to get rid of him, you could try to send him to like New York to the Jets. A young quarterback there. Yeah, I mean, Second City, you're not wrong. When he started, trying to act like a mentor to Caleb, and Caleb wasn't having it, that's kind of when things started going downhill for him. You're exactly right. What do I think of Jackson Dart in New York? He's got to learn to protect himself, Chris. I'll say that much. If he wants to have any kind of a career in the NFL, he can't take any more concussions. I believe he was evaluated 5 or 6 different times this season for concussions. And that's a problem, especially being a rookie. So I'm hopeful that John Harbaugh will be able to rein him in, because if he doesn't, they will be looking for a new quarterback in New York very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. And yeah, Second City, you're not wrong. He'll have more concussions than Scadaboo. You're absolutely right. And that's pretty sad considering, look, Dart's got a lot of talent. Dart's got a ton of talent. The problem is he doesn't know how to protect himself. If I'm the Giants, I got to find a way to get him a better offensive line. I've got to figure out how to get Malik Neighbors open. I've got to figure out how we can keep Cam Scadaboo healthy. Look, there's a lot of things. Look, offensively, there's a lot of weapons there. You've got to be able, though, to harness Jackson Dart in a little bit. And unless you do that, you're not going to have a chance. You're not going to have a chance. So I hope, for the Giants' sake, that he's able to do that. Dan Wiederer from the Chicago Tribune, also a podcast host, says this just about 15 minutes ago. The subtractions of Dahlman, DJ, and Tremaine Edmonds have created healthy flexibility for the Bears as they ready for free agency with cap room. Also important to remember, they have 40 roster spots currently open for free agents, draft class, undrafted free agents, so the money will go quick as holes fill up. And that's true. That money will absolutely go very, very quickly for Chicago. There's no question about it. So, James Palmer, formerly of NFL Network, now with Bleacher Report, was on 104.3 The Score in Chicago earlier today and said that, he's hearing Philadelphia for Max Crosby. He's hearing Chicago. And again, I believe that those are probably the 2 biggest options for Max Crosby. Now, if the Bears are able to pull it off, then by God, do it. Then you know what? Get him, and then get somebody, somebody else at center if you can't get Linderbaum. But I'm hoping you can somehow do it. But you've got to restructure some contracts and quickly. And Murph, if Philly's willing to trade A.J. Brown and their first pick for him, you know what? Or 2 firsts and A.J. Brown, good riddance. Bye-bye, Max. Then at that point in time, Vegas is stupid if they don't do that. But I don't know if the talk around the league that I've read has been this. I don't know if teams are willing to give up 2 1s for Crosby because of the injury history. I wouldn't be. I would give up a 1 and maybe a 3 or a 4, but I wouldn't be willing to give up 2 1s. Absolutely not. Now, I would say this. I'm going to throw 2 names out that I would be willing to part with in order to make sure that we get Max Crosby. I would be okay with getting rid of Montez Sweat. I would be more than okay with getting rid of Dayo Adengbo. A really bad signing by Ryan Poles a year ago as their big, free agent defensive edge who played like absolute garbage. And yes, he got hurt, and I know he tore his Achilles, but you know what? Prior to that, he didn't show any flash. He didn't show anything. It was garbage. The Patriots have a better offer than the Eagles. Who's New England going to give up that's a bona fide starter right now? Because that's one of the requirements. 2 1s and a starter. So who's New England going to give up? It's not Stephon Diggs. Drake May. Murph, that was the line of the night right there. I like it. Drake May, that's great. That's great. No, I don't, Monty. I'm with you. I don't think the Raiders trade within the conference. There's no way in hell they do it. And the reason for that, quite honestly, is this: why would you trade within the conference when you know you're going to see a guy at least one time? Makes no sense. Get him out of the conference. Get him over to the NFC. That's where I think the Bears. That's where I think Philly are going to be there. And I agree, C-Benz. I think it's too much. I think it's too much. I would give up a starter and a 1, sure, depending on who that starter is. I don't think they're going to. Murph. I think Crosby has said he wants out. And I think they want to get it done before the league year. Obviously everything gets announced when the league year opens up, but I believe they want to get it. They want to get it done. And I don't blame them for wanting to get it done. I'll just say that. You don't necessarily want to have. And I'm not calling him a cancer, but you don't want to have somebody that is unhappy like that in your locker room, on social media. You want them representing your team, greatly. And not that Crosby would do anything bad like that, because I don't believe he would, but you just don't want that. No, I don't think the Lions are not a dark horse for him. They are absolutely not. They would have to give up. They would have to give up a ton, and their cap space would not allow it. The Commanders, Dallas is one that was mentioned last night as being a potential fit. James Palmer said that, but I don't believe that. Again, I think it's down to the Bears and the Eagles. I think it's going to be the Bears and the Eagles. That's just me. And there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there on social media and things from unverified accounts. That's why, look, if it's not Schefter, Rappaport, Pelissero, James Palmer, anybody like that, I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think it's going to be the case. I don't trust it. I don't trust it. Diana Rossini, I think is another good one, but again, I'm not gonna read into things. Of course, all Bears fans think this. LOL. What, that the Lions have a shot at getting Max Crosby? There's no way. And Tim, aren't you a Packers fan anyway? Oh, I see. No, that the Bears are getting him. Look, I don't believe the perception on the Bears has changed. Okay, around the league, and we've talked about that. But I don't know if Bears fans are dumb enough, and I mean this sincerely. If the asking price is 2 ones plus a starter, I don't know if Bears fans would say that they would do it. I don't believe they would. I think because it's too much. That's too much for a guy that's had a lot of injury history. I would hope, yeah, but Micah Parsons, look, everybody talks about, oh, he's not Micah Parsons. He's not Micah Parsons. Who cares? He's still one of the best 5 defensive ends in the game. He doesn't have to be Micah Parsons. I don't necessarily know if okay, I'll just be honest with you, okay? And I'm not saying this because I'm a Bears fan. I'm saying this as a football fan. I think Micah Parsons' best years are behind him already. I think that Parsons, you saw in Dallas towards the end there in Dallas, he got hurt with his back and whatnot. Yeah, Parsons at 80% is still top 5. I agree with you. But what I'm saying is I don't know necessarily that Parsons is going to have the massive impact that everybody thinks he's going to. Now, can he still wreck games? Absolutely. No question about it. No question about it. But I think that the problem is with Micah Parsons is that you saw how Philadelphia did it a number of times when Parsons was in Dallas. The way that you run the ball is you run right at him. You absolutely run right at him. And I there's no good way to stop that because Green Bay doesn't have anybody else to stop it. You gave away Kenny Clark for nothing at that point. And Tim, I agree with you. He's still better than most. Absolutely. Is Crosby that much better than Hendrickson? I don't believe so. I don't believe so, Monty, and the reason why I say that is both have been injury prone, but Hendrickson's production has been better than Crosby. The problem is that both of them have been on absolute garbage teams. And Tim, look, I agree with you there that Kenny Clark was done, but he was still your best run defender at that time. And the fact that I mean, I don't know if I want Hendrickson, and here's the reason why. He's too injury prone. He's way too injury prone. The benefit of having him is that and I think Monty, I think if they don't get Crosby, I think that's what they're going to try to do. But there hasn't been much mention of Hendrickson with Chicago at all. I remember when the Bears had their eye on Julius Peppers when Lovie Smith was the head coach. That was their goal from the start, was to get Julius Peppers in free agency. There hasn't been that much talk about Hendrickson in Chicago. I've heard a lot of talk about Hendrickson with Dallas. Who, Tim? Hendrickson? No, he's been hurt before. He's been hurt before. I believe that for Chicago, I think it's Max Crosby. If you don't get Crosby, I think you have to look at Hendrickson and try to do anything you can to get him. But if you end up with Cam Jordan or Khalil Mack, whom I love. Look, don't get me wrong. I love Khalil Mack. But I don't believe that Khalil Mack has anything left in the tank. I really don't. I think injuries have caught up with him as well. So we'll have to see. Look, there's plenty of opportunity. There's plenty of interest around what is the potential, and I think it's across the league. But I ultimately also think that for Chicago and for the Bears, and I think really for anybody in the NFC, if you're willing to give up 2 first-rounders and have 2 first-round picks for a guy who's 31, who will probably only play 2 to 3 more years, realistically, then you better hope that you can win the Super Bowl in one of those 2 years. And I don't know if Chicago wants to give up the draft capital. Murph, I would do that in a heartbeat. I would do it in a heartbeat. Sign me up. Let it be done. I'm good with that. Do it right now. Let's get the new GM for Vegas on the phone. Let's get Tom Brady on the phone right now. Let's do it right now. Is there a snowball's chance in hell it happens? No. But I would love it. I would love it. Couple of other things here real quick. Did anybody happen to see the Horizon League final here tonight? We got our first buzzer beater for March. Just saying. So if you haven't seen it yet, make sure you do. Yeah, well, the problem is that the Colts don't have a one this year. So that's going to be a problem, Monty. And I don't think the Raiders want Sauce Gardner. Yeah, I've seen that Lego from some unverified accounts, and I don't trust those. Again, the people that I trust are typically, the Adam Schefters, the Ian Rappaports, Tom Pelissero, those cats. I don't necessarily know about some of these other teams. Again, so we'll see. We'll see. Oh yeah, I mean, look, yeah, I get what you're saying, Monty. Yeah, maybe, but I mean, maybe with this cutting of Edmonds, the Bears. I mean, maybe there's another big move coming. I don't know. Yeah, John. I mean, I'm sure Steve Spagnuolo would love that, but I don't know if Mahomes would, because of the fact that Mahomes has been running for his life, and you've got to do something with that offensive line, and I think Mr. First Down put it in there. You want to trade up to 4? We'll take a guy. I think that's probably what Kansas City does, to be honest with you. If they want Jeremiah Love that badly, then you go up and get him. But we'll see. Danielle Hunter with Houston has been on fully guaranteed money since arriving in 2024, totaling $124.7 million, and now this deal here tonight puts him over $218 million in career earnings. That's crazy for Danielle Hunter. Absolutely crazy. So we'll see. We will see what happens here over the next few weeks. But again, I believe that the Bears are in play. I believe that Philly is in play. I believe Dallas is in play for either Crosby or Hendrickson. I think one of those two, one of those two or one of those three locations will end up with one of those guys. Anybody else, I think it's going to be a shocker. I think it'll be a shocker. So we'll have to wait and see. And with that, that's going to put a bow on this edition of the Last Row Podcast. I want to thank you so much for listening, for being a part of the show. I want to thank you, those of you on TikTok. Stick around for the overtime. I want to thank those of you listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Remember to subscribe. Remember to leave us a rating. We do appreciate it. We will be back with you tomorrow night when breaking news changes everything. Maybe we get a couple more big moves. Who knows? We'll have to see. And until then, until tomorrow night, I'll see you in the last row.